The world is de-thawing. My seasonal depression has finally released me from its depths, and I am ready to read some books. Hi, hello, if you're new here, my name is Madi. I make bookish and mental health-based lifestyle content here on the internet, and I'm really excited that you're here. Ignore the lamp. I am realizing that I forgot to move this. But she's just gonna be a guest for today, and it would be rude to kick out a guest, okay? So keep your prejudices to yourself. She's just a lamp. Let her stay. Okay, so you've seen the title of the video. You have definitely watched these before. I don't have to explain anything that's going on here. We're going to talk about my books that I want to read in spring. Hi, hello. Welcome to the video. The way that I do my TBRs, because I am very much definitely a mood reader, is I typically break my TBRs down into categories of like what it is that I need to either get done this month, so content-wise, or just like what it is that I feel I should have read by now or need to read for one reason or another. Or I break it down into the mood that I'm feeling like reading. From there, I pick books that fit within that category, knowing that those specific books could change. Basically, that's a lot of words to say I'm going to be breaking this into categories. So let's just jump into the first category, because I have to. These are obviously books that I have to read within the springtime, specifically within this month, because I will be filming a video based on them. And that is the Cruel Prince trilogy. Can you see it? There you go. I have all three of them. The other two are right here. I cannot pick up all three of them. I only have one hand. So I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know all that much about this book or this series. I know that it has to do with fairies and fae. I know the main girl is mortal living in the fairy world. And I know that she desperately wants to be a part of the fairy world, but she doesn't feel like she fits in there, obviously. I've heard that our main girl is ruthless as hell and that she only gets more and more savage as the series goes on, which truthfully is the main reason why I've decided to pick this up. I've seen people basically lose their minds over the romance subplot in here. I fully expect that I will as well. Basically, I am just like all of you. I read YA fantasy pretty much exclusively growing up as a teenager, especially YA dystopian. That was really my era of reading. And I know for a fact that this is going to tap into that same kind of obsessive, addictive quality in my brain that really connects to specific types of literature. And this is that type of literature. My plan is to read this in a reading vlog. I'm going to read the entire thing in a week, the whole trilogy, and just film my reactions. I picked this trilogy because I need something addictive, because it's been a long time since I've read something that I've really fallen into and sunk into, and I need that right now. I'm so tired of reading mid-books, and because it's a huge series on the internet that has a ton of discourse around it already, so if I'm obsessed with it and I need more, and I get really, really obsessed with it, there's a lot of content online that I consume with it, so keep an eye out for that vlog. It'll be up sometime in March, I think. The only other book in this category is A Fate Inked in Blood. This I'm pretty excited for. This one I'll probably pick up very soon. This is not for a video. This is a Book of the Month book. And if you don't know, I have always wanted a Book of the Month subscription, but I know for a fact that I will just let the books sit on my shelf. I'll pay for them each month and never end up reading them. So this year I challenged myself to read every book that I ordered in the month that I ordered them. January, I got Interesting Facts About Space. Wasn't huge into it. Millennial fiction's not my thing. February, I got a Mayor of Maxwell Street. Wasn't super into it. The character made really dumb decisions that ruined the book for me. And so this month, I decided to pick something that was well within my comfort zone. Those two books were not in my comfort zone. This is romantasy. Did you hear me 5 seconds ago say that I exclusively read YA fantasy as a teenager? If the correlation is not there for you yet, I have no hope. Basically, I wanted something easy, something I could fall into, something that I knew I was going to enjoy, or at the very least, something that I knew that I would have a really good shot at enjoying. Basically, I picked the book out of the selections that had stood the most chance of me enjoying it. I didn't take any risks, and I'm not mad about it. As a consequence of this being a book of the month book. I don't actually know that much about it. Apparently it's like a big deal, new release. People have been keeping their eye out for it. I did not know that. I had heard nothing about it before I saw it in that list of books to choose from. But basically it's about this girl who's stuck in this marriage that she absolutely can't stand. All she wants is to be a warrior and fight, and I think a war going on. I'm not sure. And it turns out that she has like a drop of like this goddess's blood that makes her like this shield maiden, which means she's really good at protecting stuff and people, maybe. That's about it. The only other thing that I know is that it seems like this is going to be a romance between her and her husband's son. So let's hope that there's a spin on that makes that less creepy, because otherwise, wow, what a choice. What a choice. So this next category, because I need a win, is exactly what it sounds like. I have been reading, and it's been months since I've had a 5-star book. It's been a very, very long time, and I really need a win. So I picked 2 books that are well within my comfort zone. My favorite kind of literature is like contemporary women's fiction romance kind of thing. I like the ones that have a little bit of substance to them. I like when there's a lot of backstory to it. Think Emily Henry, Josie Silver, Shelby Van Pelt. She doesn't write romance, but you know what I mean? Like half slice of life, half romance, half just fiction about women. I just love women. I just love women. And I like reading about them, and I like reading their stories. And the easiest, most kind of like surefire way to do that is just pick up a romance novel that has a little bit of extra substance to it. And so that's what these 2 are, or at least that's what I've heard. The first one is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I know, guys. I know. I haven't read this yet. That's so embarrassing. Everybody under the sun has heard of this book. Everybody under the sun has probably read this book at this point. It's about these 2 writers that have this amazing week together when they're teenagers. Something happens at the end of the week. They fall apart. They never speak to each other again. Fast forward many, many years later, they're both successful writers. And I assume they meet up in the writing world somehow. That's how that happens. But over time, you figure out that they have been writing little love letters to each other in all of their literature since then. And isn't that crazy? Isn't that so sweet? That's so sweet. I don't actually know why I haven't read this book yet. Maybe because I was nervous about the hype. Maybe because I only wanted to read it in June. Both of those things seem like things that I would do, but it feels like the time. This feels like an emergency. It feels like I need this now. The other book that I do not have a copy of yet, it is waiting for me at the library, is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I have actually not heard much at all about this book. I know that makes me sound obscure because a lot of people talked online a lot about this book when it first came out. Since discovering it, I've heard a lot of really amazing things about it. I've heard that it's really substantive and that there's great communication in there, and they have kids, and the kids are funny, and they're written like children, which are all things that could make or break a book for me. So I'm really hoping that those are actually true. I saw a lot of people who I was not expecting to read this book read it and absolutely love it. So I have faith that this is going to be good. If you're wondering what it's about, it is a second chance romance that follows a couple that were married, and then a lot of outside factors, just like life stuff, happened that caused a lot of strain on their marriage, and they both didn't really heal properly separately from it, and it ended up causing them to get divorced. The kicker is that they have 2 kids, so they have to co-parent, and also they own a restaurant together, and so they have to co-owners. They have to be co-owners together and like run this restaurant, and so they're in the vicinity of each other all the time, and they kind of keep coming back together like magnets. Like they always find their way back to each other, and this time things feel a little bit different. Maybe. Definitely, it's a romance book. We all know where it's going. Okay, those were all of the like easy, like I'm comfortable with these. These are going to be well within my comfort zone. The rest of them are going to be exactly the opposite, actually. Each of the topics are ones that I could go either way for me, like very, very intensely. I already have strong feelings about the topics that I'm looking at, So these books are kind of either going to slap for me or they're going to flop. And I have a feeling there will be no in between. So this section is called Because as a Woman, I'm Angry. And that's it. There you go. I'm just irritated. I've had a lot of stuff go on in my life lately that have been shitty, that are a direct result of the fact that I'm a woman. And everyone can get bent as far as I'm concerned, I guess. That's kind of just how I feel right now. And I need some literature that makes me feel less alone about that. And somebody I can rage with is kind of what I'm in the mood for, you know? So the first one is fiction, and the other three are nonfiction. The first one is called Lilith by Nikki Marmory. This has a wild premise to it. Not necessarily a wild premise to it, but I grew up in a strict Christian household, and like anything like this would have been burned had it entered my home. My parents weren't that bad. But there's no way I would have been allowed to have access to stuff like this. And so I'm pretty excited, but also nervous. Okay. I tried to come up with a summary of this, and truthfully, the best way for me to describe this to you is literally just to read the back of the book for you. Okay, so it says, before Eve, there was Lilith. Lilith and Adam are equal and happy in the Garden of Eden, until Adam decides Lilith should submit to his will and lie beneath him. She refuses and is banished forever from paradise. Demonized and sidelined, Lilith watches in fury as God creates Eve, the woman who accepts her submission. But Lilith has a secret. She has already tasted the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Endowed with wisdom, she knows why Asherah, God's wife and equal, the queen of heaven, is missing. Lilith has a plan. She will rescue Eve, find Asherah, restore balance to the world, and regain her rightful place in paradise. Lilith's quest for justice drives her throughout history, from the ziggurats of ancient Sumer to the court of Israel's Queen Jezebel, and to the south of a radical preacher in Roman Judea. Jezebel, Mary Magdalene, Noah's wife, Nerea all play their part in Lilith's enlightenment. In the modern age, as she observes the catastrophic consequences of a world built on inequality, Lilith finally understands what must be done to correct the wrongs done to women and all humankind at the beginning of time. So basically, it's about a woman who came before Eve. Her name is Lilith. She gets banished because she refuses to submit to Adam. And Lilith goes on this journey through, like, history of the beginning of the Bible, basically. And like I said, I grew up in a strict Christian household. I know the Bible quite well. And I'm very, very curious as to see what new things this will spark within me. I'm really excited for this one. Okay, so this one's called Greedy, Notes from a Bisexual Who Wants Too Much by Jen Winston. So this is, I believe, a collection of essays. It's kind of like a part collection of essays, part memoir, about a woman who is bisexual, obviously. It's about her growing up and what that was like being bisexual. This book claps back at the idea that as a woman, and especially as a bisexual woman, you can ask for too much or want too much from the world. It explores bisexuality, biphobia, learning about yourself, and landing on a label that inherently has so much fluctuation to it, and also being bisexual and learning that and settling on that in a world that is so binary that expects you to kind of choose a side. How do you carve out a place for yourself in the middle kind of thing? So it just kind of talks about all of those, the stereotypes and the misconceptions surrounding bisexuality, and also like the difficulties and the strange and confusing parts about being bisexual and what that means and your place within the world. I've heard that this is fantastic, and I'm really, really excited for it. This is a memoir. This one's new. It came out in January. It is called More, a Memoir of an Open Marriage by Molly Roden Winter. This is exactly what it sounds like. One day, Molly is out with some friends and a man hits on her. She's married, so she says no. But when she goes home to tell her husband about it, her husband is like, well, what if you said yes? And so it kind of sparks them figuring out and deciding to open up their marriage and what that means and what they're both comfortable with. And this book documents that. I'm really, really excited to read this because I know a lot about polyamory. I know a lot about open marriages and things like that based on like internet articles and like, this is going to sound really bad, but like Reddit threads. So I've read and heard about like personal stories and stuff of it, but I've never read a book about it or a memoir about it, just from people kind of sharing their experiences online. So I'm really curious and interested to see how this comes about. Does she add research in with it? Let me see. Is there a citations part? Because that would be sick as hell. No, there's not. That's tragic. It should be good, should be thought-provoking, should be interesting, and it should keep me on my toes a bit, which I'm quite excited for. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last book. Hurrah! My brain is melting in my head. So I just talked about this one in my plan to read more nonfiction video. So I'm not going to say like a whole bunch about it right here. If you want to watch that video, it's up there. But this book is called On Our Best Behavior, The 7 Deadly Sins, and the Price Women Pay to Be Good. And it's literally what it sounds like. It goes through each of the 7 deadly sins and explains how it's really being used specifically and kind of exclusively towards women, and as a tool to keep women silent and obedient, small and quiet, so that they can be good and accepted in society. From what I can gather so far, it's kind of like part dismantling those 7 deadly sins and also part like healing and comforting afterwards. How do you come back to being your authentic self when you realize that you have been sort of letting these quiet and silent ideologies that you didn't realize you had adopted control your life? And what do you say and do, and how do you act when you want to not be that person anymore? So it's dismantling things, but also helping to rebuild you and your sense of authenticity and your sense of self afterwards. I think. I haven't read it yet, obviously, but it sounds good. I need a book that's going to break me apart and build me back up again, and I'm really hoping that this is the one. Also, look at this cover. There's so many like really wild things on this cover. There's like naked Renaissance women with like pig masks and like wolf masks on. And I just feel like that's kind of wild. Those last 4 are going to be like a test to see if I have healed from all of my childhood religious trauma. Jury's still out, but we're all leaning towards no. So that should be fun to explore. I'm excited for that. All right, that's going to be it for me today. That was my whole spring TBR. Hopefully you guys got yourself a book rec, or you can laugh at me for not having read the books that I should have read a long time ago. That's cool too. Is there anything that you just put on your TBR that you're really excited about? If so, let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for new books, so let me know. I'm curious. Okay. If you liked this video, could you please actually like the video? It would really help me out. And if you liked me, maybe you could subscribe and stick around. I do fun stuff like this on the channel quite often. Next week's video is going to be a vlog. It's reading all of the YA books that I did not have when I was a kid, exploring representation and conversations around hard topics for young people, and I'm pretty hyped about it. It's going to be really good. It's one of my best videos to date, I think. So if you're curious about that, subscribe, stick around. There are birds having a heyday outside my house right now. Thank you. Please, silence, okay? I'm almost done. Jesus. All right, I'm wishing you guys all the love, the light, and the happiness in the world, and I will see you in the next one. Okay. Bye.